It appears the Luka Doncic trade has unlocked the NBA trade deadline. Now we're talking Kevin Durant deals could really be on the move. The Houston Rockets in pursuit, as well as the Golden State Warriors in a massive 3-team trade that would see KD go to Golden State and Jimmy Butler land in Phoenix. We're going to break down all the latest. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe. Right now, only about 20% of you, if that, watching this video are actually subscribed to the channel. If you're in the other 80+%, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate all of you. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I love the NBA trade deadline. Let's go.
I'll continue to say it. Whoever was saying this is a boring deadline, man, that aged poorly.
No.
Man, there's no way that KD is about to get traded to, man. That's insane.
Donnie, this may be an all-time great NBA trade deadline. That's what we're talking about right now. All-time great NBA trade deadline. This is the latest from The Athletic. The Kevin Durant landscape continues to unfold. The Phoenix Suns continue to gauge the market for the 15-time All-Star. I have heard this is real. This is legit. Kevin Durant may indeed be on the move in the very near future. We could be talking Kevin Durant trades here. But here's the crazy thing. The Dallas Mavericks, one of the teams that's in on Kevin Durant, they want to add him to Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. Now, they'd have to give up a lot of pieces. It would have to be like Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, and more. Could you imagine? How would Mavs fans feel? Mavs fans are angry right now. Would it fix things with Mavs fans if Nico Harrison turns around and gets Kevin Durant?
No, but we might have spoke too soon on Nico if that's the case. But it wouldn't fix anything. But that's crazy that he's trying to do all that. He's assembling the Nike All-Stars over there.
Apparently. Now the Sam Amick of the Athletic does say that it's unlikely that they land Kevin Durant, but that's the thinking of the Mavs right now. They're looking for another star to go along with KD, to go along with AD and Kyrie. But the Suns are looking at a lot of things. Right now, they're falling well short of title contention. And so they're also looking at the Houston Rockets. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier on our live show, Donnie. The Rockets are primarily interested in Devin Booker, but they're also contemplating a pursuit of Kevin Durant. Do you like that for the Rockets?
I think KD is going to still be awesome a few years from now. I think that's the concern is, he's a little bit older, has dealt with some injuries and stuff like that. And the Rockets are typically, for the most part, a pretty young team. They've got some vets there that probably would be a part of this deal. So that's where it's a little bit tricky. But yeah, I think KD would fit perfectly. And his workload wouldn't be too crazy. And they've got some dogs around him that could take a lot of the pressure off of him, especially on the defensive side. And I think they can make it work. It's just a little tricky because he's pretty old, but he's not old, but they're young. Like they're 22, 21, like they're young.
Oh, imagine KD walking into that locker room and he's 36. And he's walking in with he would just make a beeline for Jeff Green and be like, hey, you speak my language. We're going to hang out. It'd be interesting to see how the Rockets would put this kind of a deal together. They do have some interesting young talent, and they also happen to have future Phoenix Suns draft capital. They shorted the future of the Phoenix Suns. That would be attractive for Phoenix. But I don't think a Kevin Durant trade is all about tanking or just getting future assets. I think the Phoenix Suns want to pivot and continue to win around Devin Booker. The Houston Rockets are an interesting potential option for them, but I do think that this is a team that's going to try to win right now. Now, they want Jimmy Butler, and I'm worried for Phoenix that their pursuit of Jimmy Butler has become an obsession, and they're going to do something stupid to get him. I mean, look at this. So Bradley Beal, a league source close to Beal, reiterated on Tuesday that there are currently no talks about him waiving the no-trade clause, and he expects to remain in Phoenix through the deadline. Bradley Beal can shut down all of this. Jimmy to Phoenix, he can shut it all down just by saying, no, I want to stay in Phoenix. He has a no-trade clause. He needs to be the piece going out unless the Suns get crazy and say, we will move Kevin Durant to get Jimmy Butler. If they do that, yeah, they could land Jimmy in Phoenix. But is this the point where the cure is more painful than the disease? Is that what's happening here? We're getting Jimmy. If that is, they're hell bent on getting Jimmy. But if the cost is Kevin Durant, why would the Suns? This makes no sense to me, Donnie.
Yeah, that's what we were questioning earlier in our show earlier, that it's a weird decision to make and stance to take with this team, because if they're trying to pivot and build around Booker, I think Booker's more of a 1B. I think KD and Booker together are a good enough tandem to get it done with the right pieces around them. And if they were able to get Jimmy Butler, I think they could maybe make something happen, but Beal is blowing all of that up. So to me, it sounds like you just walk away from Butler, but they're obsessed with landing Jimmy for some reason. And I don't know if that's the right decision, because you're still going to have Beal, and it's not like they can't make it work with Beal. It's not like it's impossible, but it just doesn't seem like the right decision for me. And there's also another trade they're potentially making as well for Jonas as well.
Yeah, and we'll get into that one. Let me first get into this 3-team trade here. So, look, I look at it this way: Jimmy Butler is great. Kevin Durant is an all-time great.
Yeah.
And so I'm not, if I'm Phoenix, if KD is happy to be there, and that's the big if he's happy there, I'm not trading Kevin Durant to get Jimmy Butler. But the Suns have a level of interest in Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors, and that's leading, as well as potentially Draymond Green. The Suns might want Draymond, and that leads us to a potential 3-team trade that would guide Butler to Phoenix and Andrew Wiggins going to Miami. Imagine that. A 3-team trade, Andrew Wiggins and more going to Miami, Jimmy Butler to Phoenix, Kevin Durant to the Golden State Warriors. That would turn this trade deadline up to absurd levels if that were to take place.
That's crazy. that's so crazy. I've continued to question whether or not KD would want to go, but seems like if this is something they're talking about, that he would be okay with it. And I guess part of that would be, fixed if Draymond is going out as part of this. So I don't know about their relationship after how things went. And I also have questioned it because of the little credit and the way that KD gets talked about in relation to those championships, and the fact that he thought it was so bad that he wanted to leave in the first place after a very short stint. Like, I thought that there was probably too bad of a burned bridge there, but apparently this is something that is fixable. And him with Steph, that it's not as scary as it was back when, because they're older now. They don't have prime Dre and Clay too, and guys like Iguodala there, but that still could be pretty lethal.
Absolutely. It absolutely could. It could be a really good combination. And I would think, we'll see what the assets would be if it's Jonathan Kuminga plus Wiggins or something, with Kuminga going to the Suns and Wiggins going to the Miami Heat. We'll see how all the pieces would shake out. But it's interesting because you have Miami in a position where they want to move Jimmy. The Warriors need to get better. The Suns aren't happy with where they're at either. You have 3 parties that are very motivated to make moves. Do they all just try to solve each other's problems? And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing teams that normally probably wouldn't get involved in these discussions, but they're being forced to by the new CBA because there's not a lot of ways around it. So we're seeing more teams that are they've got motivation, but there aren't other options. And so you've got teams that need to make a move, leaning in and relying on each other to help solve each other's problems. And I think that's what we could see happen here, and what would be a massive 3-team trade. Let's wrap up with this, though, Donnie. The Suns and the Wizards are also talking Jonas Valanciunas for Yusuf Nurkic. Do you like that kind of a deal? There would have to be more involved than just this coming back from Washington in order to make the math work on the deal. Not a lot, though. We'd be pretty close. We're off by less than $500,000 when we look at this deal here in the trade machine. Nurkic for Valanciunas. Obviously, the Suns would save a bunch of money as it currently sits, but they're taking back just a little bit too much here. The Wizards are. So if they sent out another salary, maybe it'd be something small. Let's call it Anthony Gill to Phoenix. And there you go. And now you've got Yusuf Nurkic landing with the Wizards. I would assume the Suns would have to give the Wizards some draft capital in order to get them to do that. What do you think about that?
It's pretty lateral. I'm not really mad at it, but Yusuf had fallen so far out of favor that he wasn't getting played, and you just can't have somebody making, what is that, 18 million just not as a part of your rotation. That just doesn't make any sense. So good on them for turning that into somebody that they can actually put out there. And I think that they can get some good production and minutes out of Jonas in a limited role as presumably the backup center for their team. And I think that could look really nice. I think this is more of a trade that, like I said, it's more or less because they needed to make a trade. And as long as they're not giving up one of their first round picks that they recently acquired, I think that's a huge bonus. But other than that, I don't really have many thoughts about this one. Yeah, I'm still on the other trade because this is a lateral.
Oh, the other move that's the big time. That's the headline. That's the, oh my God, Kevin Durant could be traded again. This is like, okay, Valanciunas for Nurkic. We're just kind of trading out two guys.
Flexibility as well with Jonas's contract.
For sure. And Jonas costs less. So I get the motivation from Phoenix. If you have to give up some extra draft capital to do it, go ahead, some second round picks, something like that. Would be willing to do it. Maybe one of the bad firsts that they got, one of the first that's not that valuable. I could see maybe something like that because the Suns are saving a lot of money, $6 million. And then when you add in luxury tax payments, going to be much, much more than that the Suns could save on something like this. But for the Wizards, you could add some future draft capital. You still have a backup veteran big. Maybe they flip him in another deal. And there you go. But again, the big headline, Kevin Durant could be back on the move.
Do they actually get any better from that deal? It feels like the other two teams are getting better, but the Suns, I don't know if the Suns are getting better.
Yeah, it feels like the Suns are just so set on getting Jimmy, but unless there is a piece to this we don't know. Like it's Jimmy and something else. And maybe it's Jonathan Kuminga. If you get Jimmy and Jonathan Kuminga, does that make it more interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something there. Then you've got you've got a piece for the future. You've got all that. So, but on the surface, I would much rather have Kevin Durant than Jimmy Butler.
If the Warriors are calling for every star, have they called about Beal? Can I interest you in Bradley Beal?
That's what this is. This is going to be a bait and switch. The Suns are going to get deep into conversations here on Kevin Durant, and then they're going to go, well, how about instead of Katie? Actually, they're not even going to tell him. They're just going to put it in the trade call with the NBA league offices. And instead of Kevin Durant's name, they're going to say Bradley Beal and see if anyone notices. That is the Suns' plan here.
They're going to be like, wait, what? Can we go back a second? What did you say? Yeah, I don't
Matt Ishbia's on the line. No takebacks. It's done.
No, you already agreed to it. But their obsession with Jimmy is crazy. But maybe they come out of this and they're better for it. Maybe they know something we don't know.
I think you have three teams that very badly need to do something. Miami needs to get Jimmy off their roster. Golden State needs to add to their team. And Phoenix needs to add to their team as well. They need to do something. And maybe they feel like Jimmy and Kuminga is something, if that's how this trade all shakes out. But from what we're hearing, this is all very real. I don't know if it's going to be the three-team trade. The Mavs, maybe they swoop in. Maybe it's Houston. But Kevin Durant leaving the desert is now a very, very real thing. And the buzz, it is growing that Kevin Durant may be on his way out. Again, he's been downgraded to doubtful for tonight's game for the Suns. We could be preparing for a blockbuster trade here. So everybody make sure you do subscribe right here to the channel. We'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of the NBA and all the latest from what projects to be an insane all-time NBA trade deadline. Again, everybody make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Go check out our latest video, our live show where we broke down all of the stuff going on around the NBA. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.